Okay, thank you, Madam Chairman. The meeting is now live streaming. I'll hand the meeting over to yourself. Thank you. You're on mute, Councillor.
Because you told me to. So, good afternoon, everybody. During the hearing, there'll be an opportunity for all parties to speak. And may I remind you to raise your hand if you wish to speak, and wiggle it about, and that all questions should be addressed through me, the chairman. I will introduce myself and the panel hearing members. Pardon me. I'm Councillor Chapman Allen and chairman of the panel. And my fellow panel members are Councillors Carter and Morton. We also have a substitute member who is Councillor Dowling, and she will take no part in the proceedings. Present are Josie Hoban, the licensing team leader, who will present the report today, and solicitor to the panel, Sarah Wostenholm-Smythe. Also present is Ruth and Teresa from Democratic Services. Would the applicant please confirm his full name and identify anyone attending with you? If anyone else is attending with you, please confirm if they will be speaking.
Raybaz Aziz.
Thank you. If the applicant is repeated, then if you wish to give advice or take instructions in private, then please let me know and we can arrange for you to do so. We can either wait or the hearing can be adjourned for a short period if such discussions are going to be lengthy. And would the responsible authority, who's the police, please introduce themselves?
That's me, Madam Chair. It's Chris Brooks from the police. Good
afternoon, Mr. Brooks. I'd like just to deal with the position if the connection to Zoom on this meeting is lost. If the connection is lost completely, then the hearing will be adjourned until the 26th of November at 2 o'clock. You'll be sent a new Zoom link for that hearing. And if any party present is unable to hear the proceedings, then please indicate either by waving or using the chat function. And I will now go through the agenda. The agenda started with part A, which is items open to the public. So, Teresa, do we have any apologies?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Yes, we have had apology from Councillor Keith Martin, and Councillor Dowling is here as a substitute. Thank you.
Lovely. Thanks very much, Councillor Dowling, for stepping in. So, declarations of interest. To ask the members of the council if they have any interest to declare. No interest to declare? That's fine. We'll go on to procedures. I'll outline the procedures of the hearing. A presentation will be provided by Josie Hoban, the licensing team leader, and an opportunity will be provided to ask questions of that report. It will then be considered that due to the nature of the application, members of the panel will be asked to consider the exclusion of the press and the public. A presentation will then be provided by the applicant, followed by questions of the members and the interested parties. A presentation will be provided by the interested party, the police, where questions will follow by members and the applicant. And the panel will then consider the application. So we've got applications for the transfer and vary DPS of a premises license to invite Josie Hoban, the licensing team leader, to present the report. Could I ask everybody to put themselves on mute, please, while Josie is presenting her report?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. So the purpose of today's meeting is to determine the application to transfer the premises license and vary the designated premises supervisor for license PL1112, the Mini Market, Thetford, 11 White Hart Street, Thetford. Just to give you some background, the licensing authority accepted an application to transfer the premises license under section 42 of the Licensing Act and to vary the designated premises supervisor under section 37 of the Licensing Act. Both were received on the 19th of October 2020 and a copy of both applications are attached as Appendix A to that report. A copy of the premises licence for the Mini Market Thetford is also attached as Appendix B. Sections 38 and 43 of the Licensing Act 2003 provide a mechanism which allows the transfer and variation to the DPS to have immediate effect as soon as the licensing authority receives the applications until it's formally determined or withdrawn. Section 182 of the guidance issued by the Home Office relating to the transfer and vary DPS states that in exceptional circumstances where the Chief Officer of the Police believes the transfer may undermine the crime prevention objective, the police may object to the transfer. Such objections are expected to be rare and arise because the police or Home Office Immigration Enforcement have evidence that the business or individual seeking to hold the licence or business or individuals linked to such persons are involved in crime or disorder or employing illegal workers. The police may object to the designation of a new DPS where, in exceptional circumstances, they believe that the appointment would undermine the crime prevention objective. The police can object where, for example, a DPS is first specified in relation to a particular premises and the specification of that DPS in relation to the particular premises gives rise to exceptional concerns. Under Section 42(7) of the Act for the transfer and Section 37(5) of the Act to vary the DPS, the Chief Officer of Police has 14 days following receipt of the application to submit an objection. An objection notice for the transfer and the vary DPS application was served on the licensing authority on the 23rd of October 2020, and a copy of the objection notice is attached as Appendix C. It is restricted. Options available to the members are to grant the application for transfer, grant the application to vary the DPS, reject the application for transfer if it considers it's necessary for the promotion of the prevention of crime and disorder objective to do so, having regard to the notice from the Norfolk Constabulary, and reject the application to vary the DPS if it considers it necessary for the promotion of the prevention of crime and disorder objective to do so, having regard to the notice from the Norfolk Constabulary. The reason for those recommendations are that members of the licensing panel must determine the application having regard to the above matters and any other considered material. The members of the licensing panel must also consider the objection notice received with a view to promoting the licensing objectives in respect of prevention of crime and disorder. In making its decision, members of the licensing panel are asked to consider the application in line with the following: the Licensing Act 2003 and regulations made under it, the guidance issued under Section 182 of the Licensing Act 2003, and Breckland Council Licensing Authority Statement of Licensing Policy. Full reasons for the decision must be given. There are a few implications that come up. Constitutional and legal. The decisions of the licensing panel are subject to appeal at the Magistrates' Court. The appeal period is 21 days from the date on which the notice of decision is given to the persons concerned. Crime and disorder, the objection from the Norfolk Constabulary highlights concerns in relation to the licensing objective, which is prevention of crime and disorder. And we have equality and diversity, human rights, Article 1 and Article 6 and Article 8. So the recommendation is that members of the licensing panel determine the applications for the transfer of the premises license and the application to vary the designated premises supervisor at Mini Market Thetford, 11 White Hart Street, Thetford, Norfolk, IP 241AA. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Josie. Members of the panel, it's now the opportunity to ask Josie any initial questions before we have the presentation by the applicant. So, Councillor Morton, do you have any questions for Josie Hoban?
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I'd just like to ask, as the licence has been transferred automatically, do we have any feedback on how the shop has performed or anything else?
I don't personally have any information on that. I'm not sure if the police will be able to allude to that. shortly when they make their presentation.
Okay, thanks.
Perspective, I don't have any further information.
Councillor Carter, do you have any questions for Josie?
No, thank you, Chairman.
Right, well, thank you very much for that, Josie. I will now go on to item 5, the exclusion of the press and public. I will now ask that members of the panel to consider that we exclude the press and the public under the following resolution. That under section 100 bracket A bracket 4 of the Local Government Act 1972, the press and the public be excluded from the meeting for the following item of business on the grounds that it involves the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in paragraphs 1 and 3 of Schedule 12A to the Act. Members of the panel, could I ask you to vote to exclude the press and the public? Could you raise your hands? That's lovely. Thank you. Teresa, if we could exclude the press and the public from the meeting, and then I can go on to part B.